Welcome everyone to another episode, actually the first episode of 2022 of your favorite football ELF show, Football Meets Your Elf Star or ELF Star, where we introduce you guys and girls to just the newest and best and most interesting players. That's actually, we introduce you to every player we want. But today I am very happy because I live in Leipzig, like you know, and the Leipzig Kings have a new hire. And his name is AJ Wentland, and AJ is in Illinois right now, but made time for me to meet. So hi, AJ, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
AJ, before we talk about your football career and everything, like I have so many questions because I'm so hyped. But first of all, you are in Illinois right now, right? Where you came from? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you grew up, and where you at right now?
Yeah, so I'm in Rockford, Illinois. Rockford is a city of about 150,000 people. It's an hour and a half northwest of Chicago, a working class city, blue collar area. It's not somewhere that you would go for vacation. We kind of had talked about that a little bit earlier, but it's home, and I think that coming home really helps me kind of get to my roots. And I have really good training facilities here. I work as a personal trainer here. It's nice to be home for, the family and to, see all my old friends and to kind of find myself and see where, the reasons why I work so hard. And those are the big reasons that I like to come home, because it's, my family is a working class family, blue collar family, and it kind of gives me a chip on my shoulder. So it's nice to be back home for a little while.
Cool. And before we talk about that, you will play in the European League of Football this year and join the Leipzig Kings. I have tons of questions about your football career because you are actually, how old are you? How tall are you? And how much do you weigh? That's something we ask everybody.
So I am 27. I just turned 27. That was December 6th. My birthday is on St. Nicholas. I know that's like a
happy late birthday.
In Oh, thank you. So just turned 27. I am 6'3", so I think that's 192 in centimeters. And then I am about 225 to 230. So right now I'm probably more 225. And so I think that's 102 kilos, if I have the math equation correct. But yeah, I'm working on gaining a little bit more weight. I want to get back up to 230, 235. So I think that'd be like 105 to 107-ish in kilos. That's the goal in the next few months while I'm training and kind of going through my program and my progression. Because then once I start playing, you'll lose a little bit of weight, kind of play at 230 to 225 is where I feel comfortable, because then I can really run around and utilize my length, because I think being tall has helped me playing linebacker, because I have long arms that I kind of extend and use my explosiveness against offensive linemen and really reach and grab running backs or wide receivers, jam wide receivers, my long arms, but also selling out for plays. When you're really long, it helps you to make more tackles.
You're pretty long for a linebacker, aren't you?
Yeah, I would say so. Even when I was in college, I was like the tallest linebacker on my team, even though I went to a smaller school, Division II. I'm sure if you were at a bigger school, I would be more about the average height, I'm guessing, but most linebackers are around, 6 foot, 6'1", maybe 6'2". You'll see a few that are 6'3", 6'4", guys like Urlacher or like Van Der Esch for the Dallas Cowboys. I think Van Der Esch is 6'4". So when you see those longer, lankier guys, and Darius Leonard too, he's one of my favorites. So Darius Leonard, I think he's 6'3" or 6'4". You can kind of tell the guys who are a little bit longer, they don't look, they just have longer muscles, longer bodies, and but I just love the way that those guys play, because obviously I'm a longer guy. So it's good to have that length, because then you have a bigger frame, then you can put on more body weight. But
yeah, you just mentioned that you went to Division II, a smaller school, and played football there, which was pretty successful. I hope I pronounced it McKendree University Bearcats.
Yeah, McKendree University, exactly.
Okay. And I read that you had a little bit of hardship and a little bit of issues during your high school time. And I'm just curious about that topic, because like in sports, we hear often about like people or athletes who have a chip on their shoulder to overcome stuff, opposed to like guys who got everything handed to them, And you mentioned the blue collar family you come from. your parents got separated when you were in high school, I think. Can you tell us a little bit about if you have a chip in the shoulder and what it actually means to guys who maybe not know it yet?
Yeah, definitely. I think that hardships can create character for people, and I've definitely had some hardships, but there's definitely been people who've had much worse situations than I have. But definitely, I think that hardships brings out the most in people. I had a great childhood when I was a young child. I was always outside playing sports. I think that attributed greatly to my athletic performance now, because I was always running around, always outside. I never had shoes on. I was always in the backyard playing baseball, football, tackle football with all the neighborhood kids. Like I said, it's a blue collar area that I live in. So the kids would always just kind of gather in the backyard and just play, tackle football, so I think that helped greatly, just running around and just playing sports when I was young. And then, like you said, my parents, kind of separated when I was 13, 14. They were kind of getting back together, but it was official that their divorce was, complete when I was 14, 15. And that was a hard time for me in my life because, obviously now I was kind of on my own. My brother and sister had kind of already moved on. My brother had gone to college. My sister was living with her fiance at the time. And, it was just, it was a hard time because I was still a kid, and I thought that I was grown up at that time. So I didn't take school as seriously as I should have. I always took athletics seriously, but I just didn't do the things that I needed to off the field, as in, my nutrition. I didn't get I wasn't eating the right foods because I was, didn't have a lot of money. I wasn't training the way that I should because I was, doing things that I wanted to do because I thought had it all figured out back then, even though I was just a kid, and, but I was always a great athlete. Like I was always an all conference guy, an all state linebacker, things like that as I progressed into my senior year. And looking back on it in hindsight, if I would have taken things really seriously and had the right guidance when I was, in those younger years, 14, 15, 16, had the right nutrition, focus on doing the stuff, off the field with my training and stuff, I probably would have gone to a Division I because I've always had the body frame that I have and the speed and athleticism, but I was undersized and I didn't have very good grades. So those two things right there were, no-goes for Division I schools, because I was being recruited from some bigger schools, but it just didn't work out because of my grades and, just being undersized. I was only, 180 pounds as a senior. So that's, I'm trying to translate that in kilos, but I think it's
about 80, 75, 80.
Yeah, 80 kilos. So I was only, but I may have been a little bit bigger. So I was probably 80, 85 kilos. So I was really, really skinny. And that was just due to, lack of nutrition. I just didn't have a lot of money. I was just living with my dad and he was struggling with work. But I always, loved playing ball. And then when I had the opportunity to go to a Division II school with a full ride scholarship, sometimes those Division II schools kind of see that, oh, this guy has a lot of potential. I think by the time I was going into college, I was probably 200, 205 pounds. So a little bit closer to like 90 kilos. So I was getting a little bit bigger. Finally starting to, do the right things off, with my training and everything. By the time I was a senior, I was really lifting a lot, but I just wasn't eating enough.
I gotta ask there. Did you always play linebacker in your career, and why? What made you like love that position to play? It can't be just like your physiques, right?
Yeah, that's a good question because when I was a young kid playing for like the youth leagues and everything, I played a lot of different positions. I played running back, I played defensive line, I played linebacker, but mostly I played running back, fullback. I like to get the ball. I like to score touchdowns and stuff. I think everybody likes to do that in youth football. But I was a really good defensive lineman and a really good running back, which is kind of an odd combination, but youth football is a different animal, So, but then as I got a little bit older, when I first got into high school, my high school coaches, we have a pretty good high school football program here with Harlem. I went to a school called Harlem, a really big school in the area. Again, a lot of blue collar kids go there. And I had good football coaches, Jim Morrow, and Coach Infazino and Coach Scholl. Those guys kind of took me under their wing, and my brother was a really good football player. So they kind of knew my situation at home, and they said, okay, this kid's undersized, but he's scrappy and he plays hard and he's not afraid to hit people. So, they kind of put me in and kind of test me out at different spots. And Coach Infazino put me in at linebacker, and he was the first one that kind of taught me how to play linebacker. And he's an old school football coach, and that kind of resonates in the way that I play. He really liked the way that I just had a motor and I never stopped running to the ball. Even though I was a little bit undersized, being tall and long, it didn't really affect me in high school. So they moved me up to playing varsity as a sophomore. So my freshman, sophomore year, I was able to move up and play with the older guys. And I started as a sophomore. So I was always playing up. And, despite my situation at home, I was still a great athlete and was able to, play up. And so that's where I kind of started playing linebacker. And then as I got into my junior, senior year, they started to play me a little bit on offense too, because when you're a good athlete in high school, they tend to play their guys both ways. If you're one of the best players on your team, which, I was lucky enough to be one of, I was probably the best player on my high school football team, my senior football year, even though we did have a lot of good athletes. Not taking anything away from those guys, but I was the only one that was able to continue playing for as long as I have. But it was cool also playing tight end as well. I think that I have a natural body for playing tight end as well, but I've had my success playing linebacker, and that's kind of how it all worked out.
Yeah, and that's what you also proved in Europe, but before we come to the stations which you ran through in Europe, and I really want to know about that step that you went to Europe. I have a question about the linebacker position, because linebacker has to be a very variable person, or a player who can play different spots, right? When I watch the NFL and Micah Parsons, for instance, who I don't know if he's a real linebacker, he's sometimes defensive end and whatever. Is there something you prefer to play against the run, against the pass, or outside linebacker, middle linebacker, or maybe defensive end in the pass rush? Is there? And what do you have to?
So I love the linebacker position because it is a hybrid position. You have to be big and strong enough to take on huge offensive linemen, but you also have to be fast enough to chase down the athletes on offense, right? So you got to be strong enough to take on a block, get off the block, and tackle a big running back, and then also be fast enough to chase down screens and chase down outside perimeter plays, jet sweeps, things like that, and to also cover the drop and pass coverage and be able to run. So that's I think that it's one of the coolest positions in that aspect. But like you had mentioned, Micah Parsons, you can move an athlete around and use him in different positions, where Micah Parsons can play inside linebacker, and that's probably where he's best at. He is a linebacker. He is a true linebacker, but you can also move him around and blitz him off the edge, or blitz him, through those A gaps. And that's where he's really dangerous. And I think that my best position is playing inside linebacker and bringing pressure through the A gap, B gap, because it's just hard for those centers and guards to really get in their pass step and take on a well-timed blitz, through those A and B gaps. But obviously, I like coming from the inside as well, where you might crash the end of the tackle into the A and B gap, and you come off the edge, open things up, which helps. But I'm definitely not a stand-up edge guy. I could do it, but to really perfect that craft, I would have to practice it for a little while. You have to extend it. It's the whole technique to getting into that tackle. And I've just played inside linebacker my whole life since I was in middle school, high school, and into college. So that's kind of how it's kind of ran for me. And I think bringing pressure through those A gaps is something that is hard to stop, especially when you have an athletic inside linebacker like Micah Parsons, for example.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your time in Europe. First of all, what made you decide to go to Europe after your college time? What made you do this step?
That's also an interesting story. So, as I talked about earlier, the hardships of high school and everything, being able to go to a Division II school, and when I got to school, they took me in, and I was able to run full force into it, and took everything super serious, because at that point I was used to kind of being on my own, and I was much more mature than a lot of other freshmen, because I had been through those hardships. And that's why I think that those hardships had paid off for me, because once I got to school, I was ready to go. I put on 10, 15 pounds right away. I got up to 220 pounds my freshman year. And I was, if you don't know much about it, in college, a lot of freshmen don't play their freshman year. They get redshirted. So then it doesn't count against them. So if you're one of the few guys that makes it on the bus, that's what we call it. You make the bus. That means you're on the team. You're playing special teams. You're playing. You're like a backup linebacker. So I was able to do that my freshman year. Get on the bus right away. Was playing special teams. And then my sophomore year was when I had a breakout year because now I had a full off season with my strength and conditioning coaches. Became an All-American. That was actually my junior year, but I broke records my sophomore year, and that's where things kind of blew up for me. I was finally, at my level of athleticism that I should have been in high school. Because I had the right people around me. I had the right nutrition. I had the right strength and conditioning coaches to where I was hitting my full athleticism, weighing 230, running around good. I think I made like 140 tackles or something in 10 games or 11 games my sophomore year. Then went on to my junior year, broke another record. And then that's when I gained some NFL attention in my junior year, when that was the first time I realized I might have a shot to do something after college. I had the Minnesota Vikings, the Miami Dolphins, and the Chicago Bears come to my school after my junior season, which was my first All-American season. And I had to do a private workout for them, which was super eye-opening. Obviously, going to a small school and coming from the background that I had, I never thought that would even be an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Short time out. What would be your favorite team there? Like Chicago, Minnesota, and what was the third?
I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and that's actually where I had my rookie camp invite. So it's kind of a small world, but
okay.
But yeah, I'm a Bears fan, and so I'm happy that they fired Nagy because that's kind of been it's been tough the last few years being a Bears fan. But
do you think it's more Nagy's fault, or do you think like it's also good that they got rid of the general manager?
Yeah, I think that it's good. I think that they need to clean house because Ryan Pace, he got a lot of good players. If you look at the defense, they have a lot of talent, and they have a lot of talent on offense as well.
Especially at linebacker, right? Where they pay the most money.
Roquan Smith is a beast, and Danny Trevathan, all those guys. I think they have Ogletree now. They have Ryan Pace hasn't done a terrible job, but obviously he's also responsible for the mess that's going on. And I think Nagy's also a good coach. He's a great guy, but it's just not the right fit. He runs a complicated offense, and he needs specific players for that offense. And it just, it hasn't been a recipe for success for Chicago. So hopefully they pick a new coach that works out for them.
Maybe Brian Flores.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Anybody. I just hope that, it gets better, because Chicago, they love football here. You go to the Soldier Field and go to the games, you see how much the fans care about it. Yeah. And I think that the city of Chicago deserves a good football team.
So I guess before we go back to the topic at hand, I guess Michael Jordan is also the greatest of all time for you in basketball, right?
Yeah, he is. He definitely is.
Okay.
I'm old school, so I like those old school basketball players and stuff. Yeah, MJ is definitely the guy for me.
All right. Okay. And then you got a little bit NFL attention, had these training camps, but then you moved to Europe, right? And how did that come?
Yeah. So after my senior year, had a pro day. Everything went into the pro days, local camps, rookie camps, things like that. Didn't work out, obviously. And then after that, I thought I was just done playing football. Because in the U.S., once you're done, if you don't make the NFL, CFL, and a lot of our minds here, that's it. Wow. So a lot of us don't know about European football. Some people do, some people don't. And at that point, I had known a couple guys who had gone and played in Europe. My quarterback that I played with at McHenry University, he played in Finland for the Vasa Royals. And that was kind of the only time that I had heard about European football. So I kind of reached out to Isaac, which was my quarterback, who played in Finland. And he kind of explained to me how he got in touch with some different guys. He made Euro players. I talked to my agent at that point too. And that was kind of when we parted ways. My agent was like, listen, if I were you, I'd keep playing football if you can. Maybe there's arena leagues. Obviously it didn't work out with the NFL, but he's like kind of respectfully parted ways. And he also told me about European football, and he said, if you want to, make a Euro players page, and then go from there and kind of find different coaches' names. So then I kind of got into it and started looking around a little bit, and it seemed like once I got a hold of a couple coaches, then a lot of coaches started to reach out to me on Facebook and social media and things like that. And so that was 2017 when I had my my NFL endeavors and everything like that. And then at the end of 2017, was when I signed with Dresden Monarchs and
Yeah.
with Coach Stolberg or Coach Olds Dauber, excuse me. It's hard, to pronounce German names sometimes.
I
or American
pronounced his name
names.
wrong. He was like correcting me too, that I should better
Exactly.
say it right.
Yeah, I just call him Olds. I just say Olds. That's just the easiest way. Just call him by his first name, and that's the easy way to do it. But Olds is a great guy, and the Monarchs, are a great organization, and I had a great time playing there. In 18-19, I had 2 standout years. It was an amazing experience. I was able to make a big name for myself in Europe playing it with the Monarchs. So I owe the Monarchs a lot, and they've done a lot for me, and I really like those guys. And moving forward, I signed with. Or sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because we will go to your stops, because you went to Dresden and played there 2 years, outstanding, collected, I don't know, in total for the Monarchs, I think you collected over 300 or 400 tackles. I don't have the right number here, but in 36 games. So you were a tackle machine here in Europe already.
Yeah.
And then from Dresden, you didn't have a title yet, right? So you had to get that under your belt.
Exactly.
And then you went to Finland, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, with the whole situation with COVID and everything, things kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And I was being patient. I was living in Dresden. I started working in Dresden actually, so I was living there full time. And waiting, just waiting to see what would happen. Obviously we were waiting for the 2020 season to start. They kept pushing back. It was a huge mess. Obviously COVID caused problems for everybody all over the world. And finally they canceled the league. And when that happened, I had reached out to Coach Pekka, who is the coach with the Kuopio Steelers. And he basically said, yeah, we'll make it work, because he had kind of been reaching out to me earlier in the year to see if I wanted to play there, see if I wanted to see something new. And I kind of told him, hey, I'm already signed with the Monarchs, let's just keep in touch. So it worked out. Went to Kuopio, played there for a short season because I got there a little bit late. They had already played 1 game. And then once I got in, I had to miss the second game. So I ended up playing the last 4 regular season games because it was only like a 6-game season anyway. It was a short COVID season. So we ended up winning all the games. We had kind of like an all-star group there because it was a lot of guys from the GFL throughout Europe that were all going to Finland. So it was a really fun season, and got to meet a lot of really cool guys, some good friends that, like I said, have played in the GFL and are playing in the ELF this year. So a lot of, different guys throughout Europe. So yeah, got to win the first championship there, which was an amazing experience, but it came at a cost because I ruptured my MCL in the championship game, and that was my first injury that I've ever had. Knock on wood, I obviously continue training and everything to prevent injuries, things like that. But yes, obviously you're going to play the game long enough, you're going to run into injuries. And I ruptured my MCL, but I finished the game. I didn't stop playing. I don't think that I wanted to go out. And everything felt stable at halftime. So they said, hey, if you can play, if you want to, you can go ahead and go. And I was like, hey, I'm playing in this championship game, So obviously didn't play as well after having the injury that would happen right before halftime. But luckily the weather wasn't so good. It was kind of rainy and slippery, so it didn't affect too much. I was still able to at least hit my gap, and make my pass drops, things like that. So then I had a knee surgery, and that was back in Dresden. I had moved back to Dresden, and I was planning on going back to Dresden for 2021, but then I had a big opportunity come from the Swarco Raiders. So I went to Austria for the season 2021, and I thought that it was a good move for me because in the Austrian league last year, they were only allowed to play with 2 Americans. So they like to bring over 3 to 4 Americans, so then you rotate. And I thought that was good for me because coming back from an injury, I wanted to play and kind of slowly get into it and kind of, take my time with coming back from injury. If that makes sense, which was a good opportunity. It was great. I loved it in Innsbruck. And Coach Kevin Herron is a great coach. He runs a tight ship there, and they're going to be successful. They're also new in the ELF, so I'm excited to play against those guys. A lot of good friends, and it'll be good to go back and visit Innsbruck.
They're on your schedule, right? They should be on the schedule.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, we play them 2 times. So obviously you got to beat the old team that I played for. but no, I love Innsbruck. It was great there. I love being in the mountains, and they took great care of me. They knew that I was coming in from an injury, and they told me, hey, don't worry about it. We're gonna take our time with you, let you rehab that knee a little bit, and then when you're ready, we'll throw you in. So I got to play a few games there, and it was good for me because I was able to also rehab my knee and everything. But that's what I'm really looking forward to going into 2022 is having a full off season. Because obviously everybody knows, nobody really had great off seasons with the whole COVID lockdown and everything going into 2021 and going into 2020. Gyms were locked down, everybody's working out at home, things like that. And then obviously I was rehabbing my knee. I didn't really even have too much of an off season going into 2021. So I was still in good shape. I always work out. I'm always running, doing things like that. So I was never out of shape. But there's a difference between being in shape and being like optimal level, like where I was in 18, 19. And that's where I'm going to be for 2020 is back to, my optimal playing football shape. And that's what I look forward to because, that's what I do. I'm a personal trainer. I went to school for it.
Exactly.
And,
exactly. I just wanted to say, I don't want to fall into your words, but like, I don't want to interrupt you, but it's exactly what I thought. I mean, that's what you do as a profession. And probably it's the best profession for you because you dealt with that your whole life and the evolution of your body, right? And what you have to do to get on a certain point. So, yeah, and you won 2 titles, and then you had to go back to Dresden because you had left things unfinished, I guess, in 18, 19.
Yeah, so much has happened in the last few years.
I know. It's crazy.
But it's just, after I had gone to Austria, like I had said, I went home for my brother's wedding, and that was this past August. And that was another reason why I decided to go to Innsbruck was because the season kind of coincided or it worked out with my schedule of going back home in August. So I went home and I was able to see the family for the first time in 2 years, which was awesome because, like I said, COVID made things hard for everybody. I wasn't able to come back to the U.S. for 2 years. So I was able to see my family, see some new nieces and nephews of mine that were born when I was gone. So that was pretty cool. And then, I was the best man at my brother's wedding. It was an amazing wedding. And then it worked out to where when I was home, Coach Oltz was like, hey, we feel like we have a good chance of winning the German Bowl. And I'm like, yeah, I know, Coach. I've been watching, and it's, you guys have been doing great. I love seeing that because I only wanted the best for them. I think that they want the best for me as well. Like I said, they're a great organization.
I hope so.
I love those guys, and they've always taken care of me, and they do a good job. So we kind of had always stayed on good terms, and he basically just said, hey, if you want to come back out and help us out on special teams. And obviously we already have a linebacker, but he was like, we love you here and we want you to be a part of this. So he's like, if you come and help us out on special teams, because he's like, we feel like that's the only spot that we're kind of not lacking. But if we have a playmaker on special teams, he's like, it's going to solidify everything, So I was like, for everything that you guys have done for me in 18, 19, I'm a team guy. So I was like, I don't care about being in the spotlight. I was like, I'll come there and do it, So he gave me like a little 6-week contract and flew me out after my brother's wedding and started right away. And I was a special teams guy and played on defense as well, obviously rotationally. And I got to be a part of their German Bowl win, and that was really cool because it wrapped things up for me in Dresden. You know what I mean? It seemed like all the hard work that I had put in 2018 and 2019 had kind of meant something. Not that it hadn't meant anything before. But we had always fallen short to Schwäbisch Hall in the semifinals in 18 and 19, and then going to the German Bowl in 2021 and kind of finishing everything up. It's like everything finally was, complete, and Coach Oltz, was talking to me and wanted me to come back for 2022. And I think that was also another reason that they wanted me to come back to kind of get me back into the system and then, hopefully get things to go into 2022. And, they're a great organization. They wanted to have me move there early and work, for the company that I'd worked for in the past. But I just thought it was time for something new. And, obviously the ELF is super intriguing. And I kind of want to do that for 1 or 2 seasons before I, finally get into coaching and things like that. So I thought, okay, I'll just go for ELF, and Coach Armstrong has been awesome in the recruitment process. And he's an awesome guy, making me feel really comfortable. And I like the direction that we're going in as a team. And I like, the choices that he's making for import players and bringing in Germans. And like I said, also Leipzig is just a really cool town. It's somewhere familiar to me in a way. I've only been to Leipzig a few times, but I'm familiar with the Saxony area. So
You're also
Everything
familiar
kind of worked out.
probably with the Saxonian accent. By the
Yeah,
way, in Leipzig, you don't feel it that hard. In Dresden, it's a little stronger. I can tell you that.
yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right. Dresden is a unique place, but
It
everywhere
is.
is a unique place. And that's why I'm excited to, actually live in Leipzig, because you can visit somewhere and kind of get a feel of what it's like. But, living there is a different story where you're
Yeah,
there every day, and
that's
and
true.
that's also part of the experience of being an import football player. It's more than just football. Obviously
Mhm.
that's what we do. That's our profession. And we're lucky enough to do that. But being able to, have the experience of living in a new country and experiencing a new culture is also a bonus. So now I just have to continue to learn German, because my Deutsch is schlecht.
It's quite all right. And we can work on that.
It's
But
Yeah, exactly.
I want to talk about one thing you just mentioned, because you're very thankful to the Dresden organization, because I mean, like, the whole story sounds like really complete, and we can talk freely about this. We all know that the ELF last year, when it started, and the AFVD, to say it in English,
Yeah,
they got struggles with each other, and we as football fans, and we from football, we hope that these struggles will be like finished at a certain point, because basically, and I know Coach Armstrong sees it the same way, you guys, especially also the imports, and everybody has the right to choose on what platform they want to play, and they want to compete at the sport. So I think if we leave politics out of it, and just concentrate on the sports, like you mentioned, when you like everybody in the organization, and like teams support each other, and people who do sports with each other or play the sport, they just support each other. So I hope that at one point both leagues can coexist, and there is no bad
right.
blood.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying, and I think that I think that the ELF is doing the right thing. I think it's good to help continue to grow the sport. Right. You can't stay the same. You have to continue to find new ways to expand and to grow. And so I think that the ELF is doing a great job. I think a lot of people were very, I don't want to say pessimistic, but kind of unsure about how it
Mm,
would go for the first season. And, for their first season working out the way that it did and making it all the way to the championship is already a home run, right? So
mm,
that's already a huge goal completed right there. And obviously with a new league starting up that's trying to be fully professional and is already very professional compared to other leagues that I've played in, it's going to take away from those other leagues, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It's almost, if you look at it in this way of thinking, okay, say this league continues to grow, it's going to pull all the other leagues up with it. And that's kind of the goal, right? Is to, make this professional league that I think is super intriguing to not only myself, but everybody in Europe and everybody in the American football world. So you grow that league, and then it should also bring everybody else up with them, and not,
mm,
not take everything away from them. But
exactly.
if it goes the way, that it should go, where it continues to grow the game, now there's going to be more people wanting to play in these other leagues. And then once they play in these other leagues, their goal is to get into that top league, right? So it's just creating more leagues and creating more of a I don't know, I guess.
Fascination of the sport, right? Fascination of
Exactly,
football around here. So
exactly.
I agree.
Just growing the love for the game, and I think that's the major goal,
Yeah.
and that it's a good thing, And as long as, like you said, these leagues support each other and try not to feud too much, because obviously there's going to be some growing pains. There's obviously going to be some feuding and disputes going on, but I think that it's actually kind of gone pretty smoothly, and
Mm.
hopefully it continues to grow and bring up the other leagues with it. You know what I mean?
Could you follow a little bit of the Leipzig Kings play last year? And is there somebody on the roster already? I mean, they said some names. I think we are total to 6 right now, but I'm like easy and smooth. I have no concern whatsoever that we will have a great team. But do you know
Yeah.
some of them, like defense or offense, like Birdsong, for instance?
Yeah. So, I was able to watch a little bit. Obviously, I was so focused on where I was playing that it's hard
Yeah.
to always keep track of everything that was going on. But I was able to watch a couple games, watch some highlights and things like that. And I enjoyed the level of play. And again, I think that the goal is to grow. Like, obviously, from year one to year two, I think that fans will see a big difference. I think that more players will be playing in the ELF this year. I think more Germans, from around the country will be joining ELF teams, and it's just going to raise the level of play overall. But for the Leipzig Kings to get a team together in 5 weeks, I think that it was also a home run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, going 5-5 is a great season for getting a team together in 5 weeks, because that was something that when that happened, I was like so shocked that they made a team so soon before the season. But like I said, it all worked out at the end of the day. And I think that this season will be much better. I think Coach Armstrong has he has ample time to prepare. We have a lot more imports that are new guys that are coming in, guys that are returning as well. They had a great group last year, but obviously those guys are going to move on and do what's best for them. But then, there's also guys who decide to stay because that's best for their situation. And then new guys coming in as well. But I think Birdsong made a huge impact from the games that I saw and from what I've heard too from other players, because obviously playing football in Europe, you kind of network with a lot of different players. And they kind of told me that, once Birdsong got there, the team completely changed. And I feel like if Birdsong had been there from the beginning, Leipzig would have been a playoff team year one. So that's our goal, is to, get into the playoffs this year and make a championship run for year two. And I think that it's easily feasible. I'm really excited about the defense because obviously that's my side of the ball. And I think that we're going to have a lot of playmakers on defense.
You have Lance and Aslan and Dion already, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot more that's coming. So those are things that I know about, but obviously we got to wait and see who's going to be announced next. So
we cannot talk about it too early. I know that, the ELF
exactly.
can
No, I'm not going to say anything about it.
I know.
I'll make it suspenseful. You know what I mean?
That's good. Like in a good horror movie, you have to build.
I think that the defense will definitely be one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense in the league. So when you guys kind of see who else is on board and other potential, there's a couple other guys who are potentially coming, and if it all works out, it's going to be scary. It's already scary, but then, you get those guys who are on the fence who may come, German guys, on top of the import guys. It's going to be really interesting. So
yeah, but AJ won't say anything about that right now. Just when we
finish
the call.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything in detail.
No, but when we finish the call, he might. So
right, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Maybe. Anyways, I wanted to talk about one more thing before we go further to the quick quiz. The quick quiz is always something I'm very excited for in Football Meets Elfstar, because we ask like 10 personal questions and you just have to immediately say what you think about it. I think that will be a lot of fun. Maybe you have to sing, maybe you have to dance or rap. We will see. But
Man, but I'm not good at any of those things.
Two things.
We'll see.
So two things. You mentioned that you are excited to play against Innsbruck again, which makes total sense. But is there a guy, because you also mentioned the network of players who play in the ELF, is there like one or two guys you're very excited to see again because you know them from your past and they are also like on contract with ELF teams this year?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that I played with in the past, obviously we have good relationships, or at least I hope so. A guy named Semi Raji, he plays for Wroclaw, so it'll be great to see him again. He played with me in Kuopio, so he plays for the Panthers, and it'll be great to see him. He's on the defensive side of the ball, so we won't see much of each other, but it'll be great to just see him. He's really like a brother to me. We had a great time in Kuopio together and created a great friendship, so we still keep in touch, call each other, text each other. So it'll be great to see him in person again. Let's see, off the top of my head, there's a ton.
Someone Zachary you will face on the other side of the ball, someone you might have direct contact with?
That would be easy. I mean, obviously Sean Shelton is somebody that I know pretty well from working with him. Sean's a great guy. He helps out with that organization so much. But I'm probably going to see a lot of Sean because Sean runs the ball a little bit. Obviously he runs that offense. He's at the helm. Throwing the ball. So and with me playing inside linebacker, I'll probably see a lot of Sean, and I'm excited about that because Sean's a competitor. He competes, and that's what makes him a great quarterback. He's a veteran guy, but he's also not afraid to get there. So I'm excited to play him and see how that goes. And but again, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all love, and we're friends and we keep in touch. So there's no animosity, but obviously when you put on the pads, one of us has to win. So
And also Sean Shelton, like some of you might know from one of our earlier videos, is much into the German language. So check that out. Like we had an
Yeah,
interview
see,
with Sean Shelton.
Sean can speak German really well. And that's, like I said earlier, that's where I have to get to. I just have to do better of practicing. I've never taken any courses. I've only, learned, self-taught, so I just have to get better with it, because oftentimes I'll do really well for like a month or two, and then I get busy doing, other things with work or training and things like that. And I get, lazy with practicing my German.
Okay. Before we go to the quick quiz, where I'm very excited about again, you mentioned that you are already, or you went into coaching the youth. I think at Swarco you also did that, and coaching some young talents. And that's probably also when you finally say, okay, I'm done with football, which will hopefully be after the next 5 Leipzig Kings championships. You will probably have a coaching career, won't you?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm a personal trainer, so that's already kind of a personal coach. I work for a company called Anytime Fitness here in Rockford. Do personal coaching, things like that, which I enjoy. I love helping people get to their goals. And I'm passionate and I'm knowledgeable about strength and conditioning. That's what I went to school for. But then obviously playing football, I've kind of already been, in that whole cycle of learning how to coach, because I've had so many different coaches, and a lot of good ones, a few bad ones, but not too many. I've learned something from all of my coaches, and yeah, I was able to coach a little bit with Swarco, and that kind of showed me that I love doing it. And I would love to hopefully in the future be able to run some type of strength and conditioning program and coach football, and kind of combine the two, of maybe running like an off-season strength and conditioning program and be like some type of coordinator, and then eventually, kind of move your way up, maybe become a head coach or a head football coach. But I just love helping people get better, and I love working with football players and football teams, because that's what I've done my whole life. So definitely could see myself being a coach in the future.
Okay. By the way, was it on the table that you might, if when you said you decide to go to the ELF, you might go to Swarco too? Or was it just like you had a conversation with Coach Armstrong, and then you knew, okay, I don't want to go too far away from Dresden, maybe? Guess you have some friends there, probably.
Yeah, so basically when at the end of the season with Innsbruck, we kind of had figured out that linebacker wasn't really what they need for an American import. So obviously in Europe you only have a few A spots, right? So with Innsbruck, we were lacking more in the secondary. It seemed like that was more of a position that they needed. And then also with last year, with how many injuries that Swarco had, they really needed a wide receiver. So they needed an offensive playmaker at wide receiver and more of a defensive back. So I was only able to play, I think, 5 or 6 games in Swarco. I think it was 5. So then, obviously I had a great time there. I made great relationships with my teammates and coaches, and I think everybody enjoyed having me around, and I enjoyed being there as well. But we kind of knew at the end that it wasn't the right fit. Not that I didn't enjoy being there, but it was more of with what they need with players. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's a profession, and it's the same for them. It's a business. So they have to find the best fit for their football team, So they have some good Austrian linebackers that can get the job done. And for them, they really need to fill in those gaps of American DBs, American wide receivers, American running back, things like that. Because they have very good, solid defensive linemen, linebackers, offensive line, those type of positions they have pretty much filled up with Austrians. So basically talking with Coach Heron, we still keep in touch. He's a friend of mine, and great football coach. No, like I said, no burnt bridges. All good relationships.
You don't seem like a guy who burns bridges. So like it's
no, I think
everybody gets
you. I try not to. I mean, it's never good, you never know, when those people, may need you or you need them, and it's always good to network and keep a good relationship for the future. So Coach K was just like, listen, we don't really know what we're going to do yet, but obviously I kind of realized, I'm like, yeah, Coach, I don't know if you guys really need an American linebacker. And he's like, yeah, we're starting to think that maybe next year we look into 2 American DBs, but he's like, if you want to stay here and coach, like we can figure that out. But I told him I want to keep playing. So he was like, all right, then go ahead and go home for your brother's wedding. You know, he's a family guy too, so he helped me out in a lot of different things. He's like, okay, so let me know what you're gonna do. I told him I'm going back to Dresden, and then we kind of had a phone call after I was in Dresden. Congratulated me with the German Bowl, and he just kind of let me know, yeah, we're thinking about going to American DBs. So he's like, if you want to help out with coaching the linebackers and coaching the youth, we'd love to have you. You know, and I'm like, well, that would be great, but let me think about it and, you know, think about my other options. And then that's when I was talking with obviously Coach Oltz and different teams around Europe. You know, I was talking with a couple other ELF teams as well. And, you know, Coach Armstrong, you know, had the best, I don't know, he did the best with the recruiting. I guess I really like Coach Armstrong, and I think what his goals are matches what I want to do of having, you know, the best defense in the league. And, you know, I'm just excited to play again, you know, and be able to reestablish myself as one of the best defensive players in Europe. And, but not only that, you know, the most important thing to me is just having a good defense and having a great team overall. So I think that we have a lot of good guys that are going to be able to make that happen. So that's kind of how everything happened with Swarco and with coming to, you know, the new team. So
yeah, I'm very excited. I'm like thrilled that you're with the Kings, because like I think many Kings fans too, like when they heard that Kyle Kitchens is leaving, for instance, you know, and they knew that he was like defensive player of the year last year, they wondered, okay, can we fill that gap somehow, you know? And like having you there, and now like Lance signing and Aslan and Dion look good. Okay.
yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
I think so too. All right. Now we come to like some quick questions, 10 questions before we end the call, and it's nothing like very terrible. So the first one, just say what comes to your mind. Okay. Who's your favorite linebacker ever? Probably NFL too, I guess. NFL.
I'd say Brian Urlacher.
Okay. Because I mean, he played for the Bears, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, like I went to, so I mean, obviously I always loved football. My dad played football. He was a linebacker for Northern Illinois. And so he was always, you know, he always enjoyed football. My brother always also enjoyed football. But I remember going to a game when I was young, and it was my first NFL football game. And I was probably 8 or 9. And when I was at that game, I just loved it. Like I saw Brian Urlacher out there. I saw Lance Briggs, or I think Briggs came a little later actually, but I saw Urlacher and I saw Mike Brown. Actually, Mike Brown is actually one of my favorite players as well. He's kind of underrated, not really known of, but he was a safety who just hit so hard. It just was so cool to me being at that game. And that's back when the Bears were really good. And yeah, Urlacher was the man in Chicago. So for me, I love Urlacher, and he was the one that kind of got me interested in the linebacker position. You know, and obviously I'm just a student of the game, and I love football. So I'm a big fan of any linebacker who's good in the NFL right now, currently, and in the past. So, but Urlacher is definitely up there. So,
who is currently the best one? What do you think, linebacker?
Is that a question or?
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Yeah. I skipped.
I'll answer that. Who's currently the best linebacker in the NFL? I think. I like Darius Leonard. I think Darius Leonard is probably the best. I mean, Michael Parsons is also good, but he's a young guy. You know, I have to let him continue to play and see how he does. Michael Parsons had a great year, but I think Darius Leonard, he's just a beast. He's always punching the ball out, and that's something that I'm going to be doing this year, is getting that ball out. So
all right,
that's what I want to. I want to play like Darius Leonard this year. I like him. So
okay. What was the best moment sports-wise in your career so far for you?
So far, my best sports moments. That's tough because I've had a lot of really cool moments.
I know. And we will not say that the other moments stunk against that moment. Just maybe what comes to mind first.
I guess the first time I won a championship, that was probably in Finland. I think that was probably the coolest moment for me. Like it has to be. I mean, that outweighs becoming an All-American. It outweighs getting invited to any pro days or rookie camps. Like looking back on that stuff doesn't really mean, you know, it means a lot to me, but I don't know what it was about just thinking back about going to Finland. That was just such a magical time for me of, you know, it was such a hard year with COVID, everything being canceled, and then just going to this new random team and playing a short season, and then just everything falling together and winning a championship. It was so cool. You know, I think that first championship you win is probably the coolest one that you'll ever get. You know, and so far I think that was my coolest moment. so far are, something that I look back on and makes me smile.
Yeah, I totally agree, because when I was 6 years old, I became the local ping pong champion. So that was my biggest sports moment ever.
Nice. That's awesome.
I know.
That.
By the way, talents. What's your biggest? What would your friends say? What is AJ's biggest talents? What has nothing to do with sports? What
Oh
is the
man, that's
talent of
tough.
him?
Yeah, that's tough because that's mostly what I do is, train and work out. Man, I should be able to answer these questions a lot faster. Man, hidden talent.
Can you sing?
I don't
Can
know.
you dance?
I guess I can sing a little bit. I guess I can
Woohoo!
sing. It's not that great, but yeah, maybe they would say, yeah, AJ thinks he can sing, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, number 4. The reason you couldn't be vegan for the rest of your life. What food comes to mind? What you cannot live without?
Oh, I always say this. I love eggs in the morning. I love eggs for breakfast, and I love cheese. I don't drink a lot of milk, but I love putting cheese on things. I love my eggs. And obviously I like meat too. So I could not do vegan. I could maybe do vegetarian because it's a little bit easier because you can still have the eggs and the cheese and everything. But it's just with how I'm training and everything right now, it's so much easier to incorporate chicken and grass-fed beef and things like that. But I mean, I love a good steak too, but definitely I couldn't be vegan because of the eggs and cheese. I love those two things.
Yeah, I totally
Kind of
agree.
random, but you got to add the cheese to things, and it's just
everything
too good,
tastes better with cheese. It's just simple as that. It's just as simple as that. What was your favorite video game?
Favorite video game? I'd probably say I really like the NCAA games, like the college football games.
We could never play them in Europe. Do you know that? Like they didn't sell them in Europe.
I love those games because I mean, I always played that more than Madden or I love Call of Duty and shooting games and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know, those NCAA games are the coolest to me because they discontinued them too. They stopped making them at 14. And I think I had the 14 game and I just always went back and played the old school 14 game. And I think that they're going to start remaking them now, I've heard, or I think they just made a new one. I have to see, but I like that because just something about college football, there's so many teams and I think that it was fun. And obviously when you're playing those football games, the controls are a little bit different. And I think I was really good at the NCAA college football game, so I kind of stuck with it.
Okay. Number 6, do your favorite impression of a famous person, or you can also choose to sing your pre-game jam, like a music you listen to a lot. Just sing it for like 5 seconds or do an impression. Maybe I can get it.
Oh man, that's tough. You see, you're putting me on the spot here.
I do.
All right, I'll sing something for you, but
okay, cool.
I gotta see it. You probably won't know it though. I'm gonna go back to some classic rock.
Let's see.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain
coming down a sunny day? Oh, of course. Yeah. Amazing. CCR.
Thank you.
I am
told you, man. I can sing. I can sing a little bit.
Oh, you can. You got the high note right away. That's amazing. I know that Hendrik from football will love it too. No, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I'm over 30, so obviously I know that.
Yes. I love CCR. Creedence is the band. Yeah. I mean, it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Like sometimes I'll play some classic rock.
Yeah.
Or I'll play some maybe some metal to get me in the zone. Otherwise, I like rap a lot too. Obviously everybody's listening to rap. It just depends on what kind of zone I'm in. So.
Like if you've played Bon Jovi, I'm always in the zone. By the way, if Bon Jovi is one of my jams. Like always.
Yeah, no, I love all those classic rocks. I love I love the classics, and I'll get those usually going, and then I usually go through stages to where I'll start listening to some metal, and then get into some rap or vice versa before the game. So
yeah, okay. When you do a pick six in the future or something like that, maybe like a fumble recovery and touchdown and stuff, something, and you score a touchdown, what would be your next touchdown celebration? And I will keep that tape.
I'm terrible with the celebrations, but I'll have to get with my teammates to try to think of something cool, because I know ELF kind of allows to do the celebrations like the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to think of something cool because I like when the teams kind of do those, where they kind of get together and do something cool. I'd
Me
like to
too.
do like the bowling. I think the bowling would be
Oh
cool where you get
yeah,
like a ball
it's perfect.
and yeah, so I think that's something where you got to meet with your teammates to kind of find something cool. It's like, okay, if we score a touchdown, whoever scores, they have to bowl and we're going to be the pins if we all fall down, or
But
or like if you've seen the one where they're like on a rowboat, like
oh
we
yeah,
all get
yeah,
in,
yeah.
yeah, it's just if the ELF allows for those fun celebrations,
Oh,
which
they
I think
will.
is really cool,
They
then
will.
then that's just something you have to get with your teammates. And that makes the camaraderie better too. So
Yeah.
I think that the first one I'll shoot for is I'll be like, hey guys, whoever scores a pick six, we'll go bowling a little bit.
Okay. The second one you can suggest, it's a wish of mine personally, and I will totally crack if you do this. Since we're in Leipzig or in Saxony, I don't know if you know, but like winter sports are a big thing here. Okay.
Yeah.
And we were proud of our tradition of ski jumping, and one of you who scored a touchdown could like just jump and fly through the air, and the others hold him, and then he lands a
awesome.
telemark. Like he lands a telemark. That would be amazing.
Yeah, we could do that one. We could do that. That would be cool.
Never been
jump
before.
And then do like the flying man and
exactly. Yeah. Never been done before. Like a little dirty dancing aspect in there, but like whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of the movie. Yeah, no, that'd be great.
The telemark at the end is very important. The landing. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Then I have two more. Do you have like because you won some titles yet? Do you have like a celebration routine after a title win? Is there something like a drink, a cigar? We know that sometimes, Do you have something there?
I guess I don't really have a routine with it, but every championship that I've won, I mean, there's only been 3, but all 3 of them have been just a big party after. Like all the guys are just going crazy. Everybody's like, as soon as you get into the locker room, it's like people are like spraying beer, champagne, and it's just an amazing experience because it doesn't happen very often, right? It's like when you win a championship, it's all the hard work that you put in for it. It's like you got to enjoy it. So it's like you got into the, each time we got in the locker room, champagne's going, drinks are flowing, and cigars are out, pictures, hugs, everything like that. And it seemed like both times we kind of went to somewhere together as a team, whether it was like a club or like a bar or both, go to dinner, things like that. So I guess I don't really have a routine other than have a cold beer with my teammates and my friends, and maybe light up a cigar and just enjoy our time together. Because usually, after that championship game, it doesn't seem like it, but that's probably the last time that group's going to be together. So it's like you just enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, I get that aspect totally. Could be a part of like the last game last year from the Leipzig Kings, and I saw some of that there too. That like people realized maybe we're not the same group next year. So that's a very emotional moment.
I mean, football is a brotherhood and it's a family game. So you get so close together because you work so hard together with your brothers and teammates, and it's something that you don't really realize until you're more of a veteran player that is playing for a long time. As a younger guy, it might not mean so much to you, or it doesn't really resonate with you, but the older you get, you know that at the end of a season, no matter what, the team will be different the next year. Not everybody will come back. There's going to be guys who move on. There's going to be new guys that come, and there's going to be a lot of changes. Whether that's for good or for bad, the team will be different. And you may not like you may not be on the team. For example, like I was with the Raiders, so then that was my last time spending time with the team was after that championship game. The same thing with Kupio, and the same thing with Dresden. So.
Well, that fits pretty well because the last question I have for you today is football is the best sport because. Can you finish the sentence? Because that's what we ask everybody on the show.
Just because it's the only game in the world where you can hit people and not get in trouble for it. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, but it's also but it's also a game that brings people together, and I think that's probably the coolest thing overall is that it brings people together from so many different backgrounds, whether you're come from money or don't have money, no matter your race or your beliefs, everybody comes together and are fighting for a common goal. And I think that's the coolest part of football is brings people together. You become great friends with people that you would have never known outside of playing football, and it creates a community, because football is one of the only games that has that amount of people on the team, and that amount of people helping out around the team and the locker room and the equipment, the media, everything coming together. There's so many people that are involved, and that's what makes football special. It's a family thing. It brings people together, and that's what makes it unique. And then, like I said, being able to play the game and get away with hitting people and not get in trouble for it. That's also a great aspect.
AJ, thank you very much for your time and like for enlightening me and everybody of our users and followers about like your perspective on football, your journey, and like now the expectations we can have for the next season. It was a blast. I had a lot of fun. You're a very nice guy, and thank you very much for like making the time. And like we always do, you get the last words now, and you can like say whatever you want about whoever you want, tell the Kings fans what they can be hyped for. The stage is yours. Thank you very much, and I'm out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I had a great time. Thanks for having me on. And Leipzig King fans, let's have a great season. I'm excited, and it's going to be a big year. So I'll see you guys this summer.